Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast, the place for growth, learning, and inspiration for leaders just like you. I'm your host, Kristin Gallatin, and each week we will dive into the grit, grace, and gratitude it takes to become the savvy leader you were always meant to be. Hey friends, welcome back to the Savvy Leader Podcast, Honor the Journey Midweek Edition. I'm Kristin, and today we are diving into one of the most pivotal, messy, humbling, faith-filled seasons of my life. And that was the leap from corporate America into full-time entrepreneurship. Yes, this episode is for anyone standing on the edge of that big decision. You're craving freedom, purpose, alignment, but you're so damn terrified of what stepping off of that ledge might cost you. Trust me, I get it. I lived it. Let's rewind. 2015. Ironically, almost comically, my husband Eric and I ended our jobs on the exact same day. That's right. We got up that morning, went to work, and came home unemployed. It wasn't planned, completely not coordinated. It was simply the universe saying, all right, kids, it's time to jump. I had put in my notice and my company instantly offered to continue my salary for a time, but asked me to pack up my things and head on out that day. Why, you ask? Because they didn't want my resignation to have a negative impact on my team's morale. Best to rip off that Band-Aid quickly. So out the door I went. On that very same day, my husband Eric went in to talk to his boss as well. See, the demands of the painting company we had bought into at the beginning of that year was overflowing into his day-to-day, and unexpectedly, his boss encouraged him to take the leap and run the business instead. With a huge dose of support and a reminder that they would be there for him should he need to return, he too headed on out the door. So just like that, 2 resignations, same day, 0 coordination, maximum divine timing. For the record, you guys, I had 6 months of income saved, and I highly recommend a full year though for anyone considering a leap such as this. 6 months lets you exhale. A full year, that just might let you breathe. At the time, I had no idea what was ahead. I'll never forget trying to visualize what was in store for me from that point on, and all I could see was a great big blank abyss. I knew I had the grit. I knew it was going to be hard, but hard work was my thing. So, let me backtrack just a little to note that we had already bought into a house flipping business in 2013. And to save on expenses, I had gotten my real estate license to allow us to sell our own properties post-rehab. I joined a national brokerage known for its training and culture, great fit, and I figured at this point, why not just lean onto that real estate license? I mean, how hard could it be, right? Saving costs was also what led us to buy into that painting company too, by the way. For me, the transition from corporate to self-employment was massive. When that grind stops, your identity doesn't just pause, you guys. It comes to a very abrupt halt. I was out there swimming around in a sea of possibilities with no real roadmap. I was lost. I felt numb, totally overwhelmed. And it took me a full year to adjust, to even begin figuring out what kind of salesperson I was going to be. Wait a minute. Salesperson? Duh. I have to be honest, you guys. I had a huge aversion to salespeople back then, which is kind of funny in hindsight because I have so much respect for the talent of a good salesperson now. So much. I also didn't understand the foundational rule of entrepreneurship because if you're in business, you're in the business of sales, or you're not in business at all. So stepping into real estate of all things required a serious mindset reset for me. And I learned this. Any major life change, career shift, a move, relationships, children, it all requires at least one full turn of the calendar to acclimate, settle in, breathe, and then find yourself again within that space. But life wasn't going to pause to give me that space, not then. We were broke, barely making ends meet. I took a job at a local wedding venue as an event coordinator, which quickly turned into a general manager position because, well, I worked every weekend there. And then I worked real estate the other 7 days. Yes, 7. Still not enough. I took on another position with an inventory service company during the winter months. The work was easy. The hours were brutal, 3 a.m. to whenever. And the van rides to and from all over the state, awkward. Not my tribe, but I did it because I needed to. During that first few years, in year 1, I sold 4 homes. Year 2, I sold 8. And then I joined a national real estate team. And in year 3, I sold 17. Joining that team was huge. They taught me systems, processes, lead gen, habits, behaviors, everything I needed to scale and build. It was expensive, but the education and the coaching worth every single penny. Yet, as I started nearing success, anxiety grew within me. Why? Well, was it fear? Self-sabotage? Was I not deserving of such accolades? Well, yeah, probably yes to all of it. I have noticed that I often escape when I get close to that summit of success. This is a pattern I didn't see then. But more recently, I've learned a term that hit me right in the chest, and it is the concept of having a conflict of values. To have a conflict of values means that there's an internal tug of war between two things you care about deeply. I wanted my husband to succeed. I also wanted me to succeed. Both mattered. Both were part of my identity. But I'm not 200% of a person, and I struggle to give both priorities the amount of energy each needed to succeed. At the time, I thought I had to choose, and therefore I chose to support instead of succeed, which meant I would step to the side of real estate, leave the team, switch the broker, and step into a more defined role within our painting company, keeping real estate as more of a side gig, but away from the real estate momentum I was building and into a very safe, supporting role. At the time, I had never heard the term conflict of values, let alone what the process looked like to find a balance between the two. Because it wasn't a lack of ambition or loyalty, hell no, it was a lack of space, boundaries, and the appropriate language I needed to communicate my needs constructively and proactively. But when you're broke, hustling multiple jobs and drowning in stress without having those kinds of skills ahead of time, you'll likely sacrifice yourself just like I did. Or worse yet, sacrifice the relationship. With me stepping into the project management role, I decided I would also obtain a certification in interior design. This was going to allow us to offer our customers color consultations, which is a great add-on to our already customer-centric business model. But because there was no real salary for this project manager role, being able to submit an expense for the consultation fee gave me some supplemental income that our company could more easily absorb. Because here's the truth, I didn't know it then. But don't expect your business to pay you well for that first 5 years. Yep, 5 years. This means you should have at least a year of income, better yet 2 years, or even resources available to you. Or maybe you'll need a job to support you while you build. I recommend finding something that is a similar or complementary industry type position to your own to keep you in touch with current trends and also running in the right circles. Most entrepreneurial journeys aren't able to support you fully for those first 5 years. It may supplement your income, and you might even have a Midas touch, but plan for the long game, assuredly. While we're on the subject of revenue, let's talk a little bit about how all of these pieces fit together and even a couple of more. Up to this point, you've heard how we strategically invested in businesses that complemented each other, creating ecosystems where one company's expenses became another company's revenue. You've also heard how we supplemented our income with side gigs that were easy for us to step into and aligned naturally with our core business. That approach added stability, especially in seasons where money was tight and the future felt a little uncertain. In late 2019, we continued this pattern by investing in training with a reputable digital marketing company. They offered a 90-day course program that I dove in head first. I learned everything I could, and because I don't believe in letting skills sit on a shelf, I launched Great Up Marketing Group, another income stream. But it also supported our core business, which in turn saved on those business expenses, no doubt. Within that first year, though, I maintained a full roster of 10 clients, even during COVID. And this helped keep my real estate gig afloat too, when the world was trying to shut down. At the same time, what was supposed to be my COVID project, back when we thought we would have all this extra time on our hands, was going to be getting my real estate broker license and launching my own brokerage. I completed that, though, in 2021, which again immediately reduced our expenses even more. And there's just something very satisfying about seeing those commission checks written right out to me instead of my broker. So hopefully you've seen the pattern here of maintaining small side gigs to support and also creating an ecosystem of revenue. And then, because my heart always circles back to connection, leadership, and helping people rise, I partnered with another driven leader and launched a professional networking organization, Lead Network Professionals, now entering its 5th year and preparing for national expansion. Lead is my passion project. It's the place where everything in my journey comes full circle: growth, support, encouragement, accountability, and real community. And here's the reason we built it. There were networking groups out there, plenty, but something was missing. They were either too salesy, too rigid, too impersonal, too focused on referrals without relationships, or too inconsistent to build real momentum. There was no space where professionals could show up authentically, be seen, be supported, learn together, grow together, and make meaningful connections without pressure. So we built that very environment that we couldn't find: a space for strivers, a space for leaders, and a space where people are empowered and not pitched. A space where collaboration replaces competition and where growth isn't just encouraged, it's activated. Because when something is missing in the marketplace, I build it. What I discovered about myself, I realized I am a designer at my core. A designer of strategies, a designer of solutions, a designer of systems and interiors and pretty things, but also a designer of life. I find peace in clarity, cohesion, and calling chaos into order. I also realized I have zero interest in managing a large team again. Corporate PTSD, it's real. These are my lessons from the journey. Hard work is not enough. Your strategy must be solid. Your core values unshakable. If you don't have them yet, build them right now, today, before you do anything else. Set your ego aside and get feedback often. Pay yourself first, and then run the business on what's left. Plan for the long game. Surround yourself with people who are where you aspire to be. You can't rise by staying in the same rooms that shaped your limitations. Seek out people who normalize the goals you once thought were big. People whose discipline inspires you. People whose results reflect what's possible. And people who challenge your excuses with integrity, not shame. When you elevate your circle, you elevate your standards, and your standards elevate your outcomes. Create morning habits that align with your values. Your morning is your foundation. When life, business, or clients start pulling at you, you need a ritual that grounds you before your day begins. Whether it's prayer, meditation, journaling, movement, reading, or quiet reflection, your habits should nourish your body, center your mind, and strengthen your spirit. A powerful morning routine doesn't just prepare you for the day, it protects you from the day. Find a cause, organization, or something that fills your cup when business drains it out. You need something outside of work that pours back into you. Serving a cause reminds you that life is bigger than metrics and bank accounts. It reconnects you to purpose, humanity, compassion, and gratitude. When you give time to something meaningful, you return to your business clearer, lighter, and more grounded. Entrepreneurship is not glamorous. It is not linear, and it is not predictable. It is transformational, though. If you're standing on the edge of change, scared, excited, overwhelmed, and hopeful, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Honor your journey. Honor your growth. Honor the pace that is meant for you. Stay savvy, my friends. Until next time. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Savvy Leader Podcast. Be sure to check the description below for any links or resources we mentioned today. And for even more inspiration and tools to help you on your own leadership journey, come on over and join the conversation in the Savvy Leaders Lounge. That's savvyleaderslounge.com. And we'll see you next time.